Hi, in this video I'll be giving you some hints and tips on how to use a washing machine. Now for some people, some of these hints and tips will be quite basic, but for some others you might learn something. If you've got a whole pile of washing to do like this, then the advice I give you should hopefully help you to get the best from your washing machine and also get your clothes nice and clean. Now this is in no particular order, but the first thing I'd really do when you've got a pile of washing like this is to sort out the colours first. So what you want to do is you want to sort out things like your whites, like this shirt, and also your dark colours, and also some of the lights. So separate those into 3 different piles. Now what do? Do you put everything all in one go, which I know some people do, even mixing the whites and darks, or do you separate everything into, say, your whites, light colours and dark colours? Now something to bear in mind, even though you may have separated them into the white, light and dark, if you have got new items of clothing, then sometimes the colour can run. So for the first couple of washes, it might be worth either trying to wash them on their own, or at least put them with darker colours, so if the colour does run, it doesn't affect the clothing. Next thing, when you have a look on the front of your washing machine, to some people, a lot of the programs can be a little bit of a minefield. But what you need to do is have a look through your washing, and you almost need to know the fabrics that you're washing. So ideally, if you have got time and I suppose the inclination, you want to try and separate things like your cottons and synthetics. Although there are a whole load of other types of fabric available that clothes are made out of, if you can try and separate them down, then you can find that if you're using the right program on the machine, the washing performance can make a huge difference. If you're not sure what fabric the item of clothing is made of, have a look at the instructions for washing inside the item of clothing, which pretty much all items of clothing should have, and this will give you a guide as to the washing instructions. Now on the whole, things like cotton items or hard wearing fabrics are best put on the cotton program, and you'll find you normally have the full extent of temperatures on your washing machine. So depending on what washing machine it is, it can normally go all the way up to 90 degrees if you wanted to wash that high, and then you'll have different increments going down. Most of the time people are washing between 20 and 40 degrees centigrade, and it's always going to be the balance between getting the most energy efficient wash, as in washing at lower temperatures as possible, against the temperature of the wash being slightly higher to get a better washing performance. You can find if you wash items of clothing at too low a temperature, then you might find the performance of the wash might not be as good as if you wash at a slightly higher temperature. Also have a look at the programs on your machine, because you could find for things like this is a gym top, that there could be dedicated programs for things like sportswear. I'll just quickly zoom into the program selector on this Bosch washing machine. As you can see, there are a whole range of fabrics just come around the side here, and these are some of the programs that I was mentioned earlier, things like the sportswear. You've also got other items, things like shirts, which will be ideal for washing my shirts, and also things like the duvet program can be really good if you've got one large single item, but I'll go into that in a bit more detail later. One of the other things to consider is the weight of the washing. Are you going to be washing a full load or only part of a load? Because you will find that not all of the programs on your washing machine can you wash the full capacity of the washing machine. If you were to select one of the quick programs, things like the super quick 15 or 30-minute programs, then first of all what it does is it tells you the time remaining on the display, but also it might give you an indicator as to the maximum capacity that you should be putting in. On this program, it's 3.5 kilograms. If I was to fully load this with 8 kilograms of washing rather than the 3.5 kilograms recommended for that program, all you'll find is that the performance of the wash won't be as good as it should be, and also there's a good chance it will take a lot longer than the 30 minutes. Something else to consider, do you have time constraints when it comes to choosing the program on your washing machine? If you're in a rush, say if you had to get a couple of items washed in around half an hour, that would determine a certain program on your washing machine. Whereas if you're not really in a rush, if you wanted to do a full capacity, and if you had 2 or 3 hours to do the wash, then you can find by selecting one of the eco program on your washing machine that the performance of the wash will be a lot better than some of the quick programs. Also, how dirty are the clothes that you're washing? If you've got some really dirty washing, like dirty football kits, then adding a pre-wash to the start of the program can make quite a difference. Also, sometimes raising the temperature a little bit can help to get the clothes cleaner, and just extending the wash time. You will find on some washing machines, if apart from having a quick wash, you might have a normal wash, but on some washers you might have an extended wash as well, that again can really help to get your clothes cleaner. Something else to consider, are you an allergy sufferer and do you need extra rinses in the program? For some programs, you have the option to add extra rinses onto the end of the program, and that can really help if you suffer with different allergies within clothing. Then adding extra rinses at the end can really help. Next thing to consider is what are you going to use to wash the items with? as in, are you going to use a liquid detergent, or are you going to use little gel pouches like this, which are very, very common, or are you going to use powder? Now, each of them have their own advantages and disadvantages. I'm not going to cover all of those at the moment, but there are three main choices that people can use. There are also some companies that make eco-friendly products. There could be a case of putting an item in the machine. I have tried some of those, and some of them are actually really good, and the performance have been very good and also very cost effective, especially against some of these. But for the majority of the market, people are using either powder, little gel pouches like this, or liquid. And the main thing to consider, especially when you're using things like liquid, is don't overdose or even underdose. If you're going to underdose, then you will find that the performance of the wash won't be as good. If you overdose or use too much liquid in the machine, then you will find that towards the end of the wash, all it has to do is to put it through extra rinses to get rid of the suds. You will find with the majority of washing detergents like this actually come with a little measuring cap, and that's really important to make sure that you get the right amount of liquid for the wash. And normally you've got the instructions on the back to show you how much to use. The main advantage of using things like the gel pouches is the convenience. I suppose it's quite easy just to pop that in the wash, or some people put it in the soap drawer. But for me personally, I don't really recommend these, and a couple of reasons. First of all, you can't change the amount of liquid that's in the pouch depending on the load that you've got. So if you put a full load in, then it's normally recommended probably to use one of these pouches. But if you're only to put half a load in theory, you are going to be overdosing. Also, if you put these in the soap drawer, if you're selecting lower temperatures, for example a 20°C wash, then what you can find over time, because of the low temperature of the wash, it might not dissolve the external plastic that this is made out of. So you could find over time that at the back of the soap drawer, you might congeal, and that could stop it operating. Something else to consider when using your washing machine is what time of the day you're going to wash. Are you one of these people that want to use your washing machine at night? For example, things like Economy 7, where you've got cheap electricity during the night. Or are you going to be using it when you're out? If you've gone to work for the day, that can make a huge difference as to which program you choose. Because if you've gone out for, say, 4 or 5 hours, then first of all, you can use the time delay to delay the start of the program, which the majority of machines have got. One advantage of using the time delay is that you can time it, ideally, so you can take the washing out as soon as the wash is finished. Because the last thing you want is for you to put the washing on in the morning, and then for the clothes to be sat there in the washing machine that have been there all day. If you're washing during the day when you're going out to work, or even if you're washing at night where there's no time constraint, then ideally, if you select a longer program, as I mentioned earlier in the video, then you can find that the washing performance can be a lot better than on some of the quick programs. When you're loading your washing machine, you want to make sure that ideally you can put your hand in and that there's still space on top. And the reason for that is that what you need to do is you need to allow space within the washing machine drum for all the clothes to move around to get the best washing performance. So that's the first thing, don't overload your machine. But secondly, you don't want to underload the machine as well. I know for some people you're thinking, well, how can I underload it? And you can find, if you were to put, say, one item of clothing in, for example a towel, or even worse, something like a bath mat, because that can be quite heavy, then as you get towards the end of the wash, where you start to go through the rinsing and especially the spinning process, then the machine can't balance the load out. I'd always say you need at least quarter of a load in the machine for each wash, so that as it gets towards the spinning process, it can distribute the load evenly, so the spinning isn't an issue for you. One of the final things to mention, once you've selected the program that you want, you've got everything loaded into the machine, you've dosed it well, when you first put the machine on, you'll see it comes up with the time remaining on the washing machine. On the majority of washing machines that have the display like this one, you'll find some of them don't, so you're sort of guessing on the time it's going to take. But as I say, on the majority of machines where it has got the time on here, it'll give you the time remaining of the program. Now that will vary for every single wash that you do. Now that time on the program can vary a huge amount, and there are different factors involved. First of all, what the machine doesn't know is the weight of the washing in there. So what it will do, towards the beginning of the program, normally within the first 5 minutes, it will send a certain amount of water in. Depending on how much is saturated, it can take an educated guess as to the amount of clothing in there. Also, as I mentioned earlier in the video, if you have used too much detergent within the wash, then that can extend the wash time, because what the program is having to do is to add extra rinses at the end. I hope you found that video useful, and some of you might have learned something, some of you might not have learned anything, but I hope you found it interesting. And as I would normally say in my videos, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just give us a quick thumbs up, click subscribe, leave any comments below. If you've got any other hints and tips when it comes to using a washing machine, then let me know in the comments below. Also, if you've got any questions on things to use or products, things like that, pop in the comments and I'll get back to you. Thanks for joining me today.